Okay, right. This is my second ever Twitch stream, so hopefully it'll be a little bit better than the first, but I'm getting feedback. I know what that is. I've got Twitch in the background, bear with me. There you go, shouldn't have that anymore. Right. Okay, right, start again. This is my second ever Twitch stream, and what I wanted to do is scratch an itch I've been having for a while, and that is to build sort of a voice controlled assistant. So I've actually played around with the system.speech namespace in .NET before, and it's really interesting. Inside of the system.speech namespace, you've got something called speech recognition and speech synthesis. So one's for understanding what's been said, and one's for actually saying things, kind of like a computer voice, I guess. So I've just got a few slides I want to run through, like a really few slides, don't worry, of the project, and then we'll start writing some code and setting it up. This is going to be like over a few different streams as well. Can't build this entire thing in one stream. I'm not that mad. Okay, so the other reason I'm not presenting this is because when I present this presentation, I lose this screen down here. So you're just gonna have to bear with the fact that you can see my slides, but it's no big deal. All right, okay, so I'm calling this project Project Geneva because every project, I think, should have a cool name. And usually I really struggle and torture sort of acronyms out of project names, but this one was fairly easy. So from generic voice assistant, I just took these letters and got generic voice. I took the generic and the V and the A. So Geneva, Project Geneva, generic voice assistant. There you go. That's what Project Geneva is. I had to check to make sure that Project Geneva wasn't some sort of historical sinister project, but I don't think it is. So yeah, Project Geneva. So this is the goals of the project. I'm going to build this voice controlled assistant. We're going to start little bits at a time, and we're going to use C# and .NET. We're going to use the .NET full framework because I think the system.speech namespace I don't think is available in .NET Core. That's the only reason I'm not using .NET Core for this. I think I've seen people that have used .NET Core to get at them, but they've had to use reflection to get at that sort of those classes and stuff. So it feels a bit like a hack. So I'm just going to use this in full C# .NET framework. Then I'm going to host it in GitHub, so we can follow our progress on there. You can look at the code and pull it down and try it for yourself. Then I'm going to gradually add additional things that I want this voice controlled assistant to do, and the requirements on it. And last but not least, I'm going to sort of dog food it. So I'm going to use it to build itself as well. That's what dog fooding is. When you eat your own dog food, it kind of means that you're how do you explain this? You're kind of using what it is you're building. So that's what I'm going to try. So they're kind of goals for this project. And you might ask, well, why aren't you just going to use so if I say this word, it's going to turn on over there. A popular voice controlled assistant like this one from Amazon, or other ones from Google. Well, that's a really good question, and I thought you'd ask that, so I've got some answers here. So first of all, I want to be able to call it and invoke it by calling whatever I want, whether it's Geneva or Jasper or Jabberwocky or something that begins with a J, anything. And I also want to be able to change that at will and say, Geneva, change your name to Horace, and then use Horace to activate it and start listening for other commands. I want more power and more control. So what do I mean by that? So I mean I want the ability to run this, get this to call other executables that might be running on my machine. Basically anything that the Amazon assistant doesn't do. I know there's all sorts you can do with skills. I've even built some, believe me, I know that they're really powerful, but I feel like if I build my own and I've got control of the code and I can run it locally, then I can do at least as what the Amazon assistant can do, if not more. Okay, I want it to be able to run offline. So if you notice these Home Assistants, the Google one and the Amazon one, we can't say it name because I didn't put mute on the device over there. If it loses connection for whatever reason, it pretty much renders it utterly useless. It can't play music, it can't tell you the time, it's just, whereas the one I'm going to create is going to be able to run offline, so it can do these things still. Okay, and then, oops, skipped a side there. Okay, so then also I want to be able to execute long-running tasks and background tasks. So I want this virtual assistant to be more than a immediate, I ask a question, it gives me a response. I want it to, I don't know, go calculate pi to infinity or something. That's a bad example, but do something that's going to take it ages and then get back to me with the result. I don't know, crawl a massive website or something. So I think that's enough reasons really to sort of why I'd want to build my own and not use the Amazon Home Assistant. Okay, so then the initial steps that I'm going to start today and we're going to carry on with afterwards are going to create the initial GitHub repository. Like I said, we're creating this from scratch. I'm starting this project from scratch. Clone it locally, create a README file with a bit of description, the basic requirements, start listing some use cases, of which I've not got many at the moment. So if you're following along with this, by all means, just shout out some possible requirements or use cases in the chat. So the basic one that I'm going to get working is, what time is it? And if I can get that working, then that's kind of a good starting point to get other commands working. And then we're going to create it in Visual Studio and then push it up to GitHub. We might not get that much code written today, but if we can get these first building blocks done, then I'll be happy. Okay, that's a slide for more at the end really, so pretend you didn't see that. Okay, so let's go on over to GitHub, where we're going to create a new repository. I'm going to call it Geneva, or Project Geneva. Let's call it Geneva because I guess it's inferred that it is a project. I've got a new chair today and it's already rattling. It's annoying. Anyway, let's make it public. Let's give it a bit of a name. A local virtual assistant. Do I need the word virtual? I'm not really creating a real flesh and blood assistant, am I? A local virtual assistant, voice controlled assistant. Voice controlled assistant using C# and .NET. Is that everything? Local voice controlled assistant. Let's put virtual assistant. I'll do for now. Let's initialize it with a README file. Let's add a git ignore. The one I always use is the Visual Studio one, and that kind of excludes all your bin folders and your object folders, I believe. Maybe like your .solution options folder. What is it? Anyway, add licenses. I think MIT is the one I normally use. Usually that means people can do what they want within, what they want with it. Anyway, so let's create that. Very good, we've got it created. Let's grab the URL and clone it. You've lost my screen share. That's not good. Note to self, read comments more often. That's fine. You can see it now. There we go. Didn't advance the scene in OBS. Sorry about that. I was doing boring stuff, I assure you, in creating the project, and you probably won't believe me now. You think, oh, it's small smoke and mirrors. I did actually create this project, this repository. Thanks for telling me. Glad someone's watching. That could have been an absolute nightmare. Okay. Let's recover from that, shall we? These things happen. These things happen. Should resist the temptation to sack it all off. Right, so let's grab that URL. Thanks, Sean. That's good. Let's use the new Windows terminal to clone it. Let's pull that up. I should have a git bash one, even though I think I do have a git bash one. I think PowerShell should do it. Yay. Okay, so we now have got our repository there. Let's go check. If this was Git Bash, it did all change colour nicely, but it's pulled down files, so that's fine. Probably won't use that bit again. Okay, let's launch Visual Studio. Okay. Create a new project. Let's do a blank solution, shall we? Can never find blank solution. I always start with a blank solution. Don't want .NET Core. I don't want all these new trendy things that it puts straight to the top. I want an old-fashioned, full-fat .NET Framework console application. If I could use system.speech in .NET Core, I would be. I don't think I can. I think that's the one I want. I'm not accidentally saying I'm going to use VB.NET. I've done that a few times. C development. Let's call the solution Geneva.solution. And let's call the project name Geneva.console application. I'm probably not going to have that many console applications, so that'll do for now. Yeah. Let's go ahead and create that. Right. I'm actually a lot further on than I thought I'd be by now. I wish that would stop popping up. I will download the latest version of Visual Studio when I'm ready. Thank you. Okay, so we have got the full. We've got empty console application. That's fantastic. We did say we were going to create, put some stuff in the README file, didn't we? Yes, we did. Okay. So someone told me that Visual Code's got a really good built-in Markdown viewer, because the one I was using earlier wasn't very good. So let's do that. Let's open the README file in Visual Studio Code. Can I do code readme.md? Bet I can. Now, I'm going to have a preview over here. Ah, you're right. Whoever did say that the built-in Markdown viewer in Visual Studio Code was very good. They're quite right. Right, so let's have some subsections. We were going to have use cases, and we were going to have requirements. These are probably going to blur somewhat. But you'll see what I mean. They are really subtle, not that subtle to be honest, differences. So let's, in the requirements, put, what is it? Bullet point. I think it's a star. Work offline. Ooh. Work offline. I'm just wondering if that's going to be pretty small on your screens. Can I increase the font size? I bet I can. See, in Visual Studio, I would just hold down Control and do my scroll wheel. Oh, and that didn't work. Or I'll do Control++. Ah, here we go. There we go. That's a bit bigger. That might be a bit more comfortable for you followers to read. No idea how many people are watching, by the way. Just gonna have a quick look because I'm curious a little bit too. That's fine. Okay, so we've got requirements. Then we have got what the requirements should work offline. When I say work offline, I mean I should still be able to talk to it and it should still be able to hear me. If it needs to go off and do online stuff, obviously it's not going to work, but it should be able to tell me the time at least if it's offline. should work offline. I could go into more detail and put things like it should be aware if it's got a connection or not. I'm going to add it because I'm going to forget things. I'm also probably going to use, when I've got a longer list of requirements, the Moscow method of prioritizing them. There's sort of the must, could, should, would. No, must, could, should and won't. Just to prioritize them a bit. So should work offline. That for me is a must. I'll put using Moscow prioritization. If you're unaware of what the Moscow prioritization is, if you just Google it, I presume you know how to Google, so I won't show you. I won't go off and Google that now. But if you just it is a way of your list of requirements saying what you must do, what you could do, what you should really do, and what you won't do. I've not explained that very well. Go off and Google it. So should work offline, and then the use cases. We will go for should be able to tell me the time. And what I might even do for the use cases is do sort of example commands for it. So what time is it? Use cases. Tell the time. And you might think this is, oh, that's really rubbish and useless. Why would you ever want to build a voice controlled virtual system from scratch just to tell you the time? This is just the starting blocks. Believe me, I have got some ideas, more advanced stuff of what I want this to be able to do. But I need to start somewhere. Look at Iron Man, look at his first prototype. Anyway, great film. Should work offline. Requirements. So I want it to work a little bit like the normal voice controlled assistants, in that I don't want it listening. It's going to be listening over time, but it's going to be passive listening. And then when it hears its name, then it's actively listening, and then it can then it will respond to commands. So if I just say what time is it, it won't do anything. But if I say Geneva, what time is it, then it will be actively listening and do that. So I need some sort of concept of activating it. So let's do activated by name. I'll do for now. I might need to go into more details for this. Oh, one of the requirements we said from the slides was we want to be able to change the name of what we're going to use to activate this voice controlled assistant, because I think a lot of people don't like the fact with the Google Home Assistant and the Amazon Home Assistant that you can only say very few things to activate it. So activate by name. Let's put activation name should be configurable, changeable, variable. Let's put configurable. And then we said should have passive and active states. That might not make too much sense at the moment, but I've got a good idea of what I want that to actually be. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so what else did we say we would do? Requirements using Moscow priority. So should work offline is a must. Activate by name is a must. Activate name should be configurable. What I can't really call that a must. That will distinguish it from other sort of high street voice controlled assistants, but it's not really a must. So let's put should. Yeah. Should have active, passive and active states. Well, that's a must, because I don't want it always listening for me for the commands, but I do want it always to be listening for its name. that might do for now for the requirements and the use cases. Do you know what? I'm going to add 1 or 2 more use cases, I think. I'm also going to put a must for use the Moscow priority for the use cases as well, because there's some that I want to do more than ever. Okay, so another use case I can think of as tell the time in Japan, and there's a good reason for that. My brother lives in Japan, so yes, I could ask the Amazon Home Assistant, but I'm trying to flesh this out a bit. So I'm going to say, what time is it in Japan? It's 9 hours difference if you're interested. What time is it in Japan? It's got very dark. When I first envisaged this project, I'm sure I had loads more use cases in this, but my mind's gone blank. So let's start maybe looking at the code. Yeah, let's start looking at the code. In fact, let's probably do a check-in right there, because that's probably enough for a check-in. Okay, the other thing I'm going to look at is I've already written some slightly relevant code. I created a voice control virtual desktop manager that allowed you to use your voice to switch between virtual desktops. So I'm going to just grab some code from this to remind myself what I need to do to instantiate the speech recognition engine. Okay, so it's that. That's fine. Anyway, we said we were going to do a check-in, didn't we? Yes, I will update Visual Studio. Right. Wrong window. Here we go. Is there any files I don't want to check in? No, I think the git ignore file did a fairly good job of commenting out stuff I don't want. Initial commit. Assuming it'll have no problem pushing that up to Git. Doesn't normally. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so what do I need? I need this speech recognition language. Recognition engine even. Okay, let's grab this. I might be referring to this project back and forth, but let's you're going to see some quality copy and pasting right now. It's going to ask me to import the system.speech namespace. Okay. Yeah, okay, so it's going to use the ENUS culture. Not sure about that. Let's use ENGB, do we? Because I'm probably going to use my globalization, local globalization setting, surely. Let's pull that out anyway. I think I might need to use culture later on anyway. Let's do GB, but let's remember that that was a US in case it doesn't work. Okay. Now, just going back to the project to remind me what I was doing. Right, so there's various events in the speech recognition engine, so we need to hook that into those as well. So I need that line, and I need this one, which sets the it to be gets your default microphone, and then the choices are the things we want it to recognize. So initially we're going to make that the name of it, i.e. Geneva. Yeah, okay. I probably want this side by side. In fact, I'm going to zoom in the code as well so you can see a bit better. So let's do speech recognition engine dot, and then the events was something like speech recognized. Yeah, it's really interesting, the speech recognition language. It doesn't get shouted about enough in the .NET framework. So it can detect that speech is happening, and then once it's detected the speech, it can do this speech hypothesized thing. So it's at that point it's like, well, I kind of got an idea of what you might be saying, and then also you've got this speech recognizes, which is like, okay, I'm fairly sure that this is what you said, and it gives you sort of a confidence level of how certain it thinks it was that you said it. So let's do speech recognized events. Let's hook that up. And let's just do some good old console outputs, shall we? Let's do speech recognized. Let's do some string interpolation. E dot result dot I think it's text. I did mention that it also does the confidence, so it'll be like if I say just recognize the words red, green and blue, and if I said blue, it wouldn't always necessarily say I'm 100% confident you said blue. It might say, well, I'm 80% confident you said blue, 10% confident you said green, and 10% confident you said yellow. So it gives you that. The other thing I'll mention is the way I'm going to be using it. You can use the speech recognition engine a few different ways. You can just use dictation, where you just speak and it does its best to sort of transcribe everything you're saying. But that's not what we want in this case. What we want is to feed it initially anyway, a few predefined commands, identify them, and when you do that, you've got a much higher chance of it identifying what you actually want it to say. And then once it's recognised those predefined commands, then do what we want it to do. But we might get a bit more advanced by introducing some sort of variables later on. So let's do eResult.text. I'm going to turn my volume up a little bit. I hope this doesn't cause feedback, because when it does, no, it's fine. Okay, I was thinking of later on when I actually get it to talk back. I've just remembered another requirement or use case, and this is a definite could. So when we get onto creating the engine so it speaks back to us using the system, the speech synthesis class, it can sound very robotic. So what I would really love to do is, in certain cases where I kind of know what it's going to say, I want to actually use some pre-canned WAV files from voice actors. Now you might think, how on earth are you going to get voice actors? That's a good question. And now I've used the website Fiverr, I think it's Fiverr a few times, and one thing that you can do, I hope this is the website, that's not the right website, yes it is, you can do is you can really, hang on, what was that? Anyway, voice acting. So rather than it sounding robotic, I could get some actual professional voice actors. I say professional, but people that who've done voice acting before, and get them to. I could provide them with a script of, I don't know, 100 words of phrases like, yes, no, I don't think so, or yeah, I'm gonna have to put this script together, but have them say it rather than it sound quite rather than sounding quite robotic. And I imagine that they will take a great big script of phrases and do it for not very much money. Yeah, so that's probably something that I will try and do later on. Use voice actors. That's different. That's definitely good for later on. Use voice actors. Can I remember if it's double V or double R in Fiverr? Never mind. For predefined responses. Okay. That's robotic. And that is that's a definite good. Right, back to the code. I'm just going to nip back to the code, and then I'm going to quickly check the health of this stream to make sure I'm still streaming and that sort of thing. Yes, it looks like I am. Fantastic. Right, okay, so now we have got a speech recognition language that's not doing very much because we've not told it to do very much. We've got it to recognize an event that speech has been recognized, and then output what it is in the console, but it's not doing very much right now. So let's nip back to that other project that I prepared earlier, and we need this, and we need the choices. We're going to build the grammar of the choices. I think there's a way of possibly doing it different, but we're going to do this way initially because that's the way I'm familiar with. And then if some system.speech expert wants to chime in on the chat and say I'm doing it wrong, they're more than welcome to. Okay, that'll do. The thing about code is that it just lasts forever and you can reference it again and again and again. Right, okay, so just going to have this one choice, and it's going to be Geneva. In fact, no, we're going to have multiple choices because I want to show you the confidence thing and the fact that you can get it to detect multiple things. So let's have Geneva. I have no idea how it's going to detect Geneva. The other advice that I've got for you when you create this sort of thing is, if you're going to have these names that are going to wake up the virtual assistant, you probably don't want it to rhyme that much with other common words like I don't know what's a word, common word, blue. Okay, so how many words rhyme with blue? Blue, new, few, two. So you wouldn't really want a voice controlled assistant that called blue, because every time you said a chew or Sue, it might think you're talking about it. So are there many words that rhyme with Geneva? Let's think of this one. Geneva, either, breather. There are a few, so I might want to make it a bit more complex. But like I said, one of the requirements is that we can change the invocation or the wake up word. So let's have Geneva. Let's have, I like Jasper. I've always fancied maybe you're calling this Jasper as well. There's not many things rhyme with Jasper, do they? Okay, let's go for Geneva and Jasper. Excuse me. And then what I'll also do is, when it recognises the word, I'm going to say what the confidence it has in it as well. Yeah, confidence. I've got a feeling that's going to be a really long floating point number, so it's going to be really long. I'll do the format. It's 2 decimal places something afterwards. It just shows you how accurate it is, I guess. Okay, so that should be enough to run it. See how we're using the culture again later on. I said we might. Okay. I'm just going to zoom that in and minimize this because that might be a bit more comfortable for you to see. Okay. I'm going to run this. In fact, before I run it, I'm just going to really quickly, just go back through what we're going to achieve. So this is Project Geneva, which is building a voice. Come on. What we're doing today is, where's my mouse? It's disappeared. It's reappeared. What we're doing, so we are building a voice controller system with a system.speech namespace in .NET. We're calling it Project Geneva, and we're borrowing, because the acronym sort of was useful that way, and I like cool names for projects. It's a generic voice assistant, hence the name Geneva. The goals are to build it iteratively, so we're not going to do it all tonight. We're going to come back and add more use cases and requirements to it and build them out. Hosting GitHub so everyone can see. We're going to dog food it so that we're going to be using it as we're building it, hopefully, if we can. So you might say, why aren't we using a other popular household virtual assistants? It's because I want to call it something other than these names. I have got a device over here, so I'm trying not to say the name because it'll just wake up and it'll start playing Spice Girls or something, I don't know. So yeah, so I want to call it something other than that. I want more power and more control, because who doesn't want that? I want it to be able to run local executables. I want it to do all sorts of low-level stuff that if you're building your own Amazon skills, you just don't have that sort of level of power. I want it to be able to run offline, because if these household devices are offline, like the Amazon one, it's next to useless, and I want to do sort of more complex, long-running tasks as well, potentially. So this is what we're doing today. We've been creating the GitHub repository, cloning locally, starting the README file and populating it with a bit of basic requirements and use cases, and yeah, that's where we're up to. You're all caught up if you've joined this late in the day. We're about to run it. So when I run this, it should detect the words Geneva and Jasper and output them to what confidence it is. Let's see. Demo gods be kind. I've got some sound effects ready to go. I'm going to run that again just because, not that it didn't work, because it opened the console application on my lower screen so you didn't see it. Jasper. So it had a 98% confidence that I said Jasper. Unfortunately, when I continue to say words, it thinks it might be picking it up. So what you might want to do, here we go, start building in a level of confidence. Geneva. So you might want to say, I want you to be 98% sure that you're saying this word before I'm actually going to believe you that you're trying to say this word. Because these are the only 2 words in its vocabulary now. So every single word you're going to say, it's going to try and think, maybe you're trying to say one of these things. So yeah, you really want to check these confidences. So let's do that right now. So let's say 98%. It seems pretty high, but let's do if e.result confidence is greater than, is it 0.98? Yeah. Don't need that, we're already afloat. Let's do that. Then output it. And then this way we should get a lot less false positives, and we can always tweak that confidence. In fact, we should probably make that like a global variable rather than being here. Right, let's try that again. Geneva, Geneva, Jasper, Geneva. So now when I'm just talking normally, I should get a lot less false positives. It feels like that's a bit high. Maybe I could knock it down to 97. But maybe if I said either, Geneva, breather. Yes, it's not detecting Geneva. Geneva? Yeah, I need to knock that down. Let's knock that down to 97. Try again. Small steps. Okay. Geneva. Geneva. Jasper. Either. Either. Okay. Geneva. So if we were going to use it in context, we might say Geneva. Geneva. What time is it? You know. Okay, so now it feels like that's still. I'm gonna pull that out to be a global variable, and I'm also gonna knock it down to 36. Okay. We're eventually gonna want to probably encapsulate this in its own classes and not have it on the main method of a console application. Okay, well let's capture that requirement somewhere. In fact, no, let's create a separate to-do list, because it's not like a non-functional requirement, isn't it? Don't meet your code, rubbish. To do. Encapsulate virtual assistant. Geneva into separate classes. And we can do all that sort of nice separation of concerns and single responsibility principle and stuff like that. At the moment, it still feels like it's okay that we're in the main method of a console application. However, I did say, yeah, let's move that confidence out a bit. And you might think, well, why? That's the only place you're using it. Well, it's a bit of a magic number there, isn't it? Confidence level. It's also going to be interesting to see how we unit test this. I'm going to have to give that some thought. It's got to be static. Of course it does. And that's in the wrong method. Other than that, great. Make that read only, can't I? Yeah, I'm not going to change it. Okay, so we did talk about having this active passive thing. So what we want to do is set these active and passive states so that by default, when it's listening and in running, it's going to be passively listening, and it's only listening out for its name. And then once it hears its name, then we're going to class that as actively listening. And then that's when we can give it the commands. I realise I'm talking that way, my microphone's that way. That's probably not good. Okay, so let's introduce some enums, shall we? On a enum, an enum. Probably don't need this solution now. I think I've taken everything I needed from it. Yeah. Just realised it's the time. Probably going to create these enums and think about wrapping up, but we'll see how we get on. I'm going to have to do some major refactoring because these are not the places that I wanted to create them. I guess we're going to do like a bit of a proof of concept first, and then once we've proven the concept, maybe we tidy the code up a bit. Yeah, why not? I'm sure this isn't going to come back and bite me in the bottom by writing the spaghetti code from the very off start. I'm sure that never's happened to anyone before. Enum. I always forget if enum's even in this list, so let's just create a class and then change it to be an enum. Let's call this listening state. Listening state. We might also want a state that's it's not that it's actually executing a command that we've asked it to. So we'll have to bear that in mind. Now passive, active, and let's just again, comments in code. You can chastise me all you want, but just for readability, let's just say what these are. So passive is just listening for wake word. Let's call it wake word. Let's introduce some vocabulary in here for wake word. Could call it name. Yeah. Let's just do wake word. Active. So the other thing we want is this is now active. So we want listening for command. Listening. Heard. Word. I'm gonna have to get rid of those quotes, otherwise I have to put it everywhere. I don't want to do that. Heard wake word. Listening. Now listening for command. Now, the other thing we need to think about and is that how long do we want it to be actively listening for before then it goes back to being passive? So that is going to be a requirement. In fact, yeah, I have to tidy up these requirements. Have passive and active states. Listen for wake word. I don't like wake word. I have to change that, but I have to change it everywhere. Listen for wake word. No. When hearing wake word, activate. Change to active state. Let's have another requirement. Start in passive state. Okay. When hearing wake word, change to active state. Now what we want is after a predefined time, I can feel that we're going to need a configuration class at some point because we've got the confidence level, we've got the wake word, we're going to have this predefined time. It feels like we need a bit of a configuration class where these can be held, I think. After a predefined time in active state, change to passive state. Okay, so I'm going to add this to the to-do as well. Okay, and then we're going to have implement passive and active states, and then I'm going to have, it's like a timeout, isn't it, I guess? Implement active states timeout. I think these make sense to me. They probably won't make sense to anyone who's reading these requirements. I wouldn't pass these to a colleague and say, here you go, use these. but I do need to capture them somewhere. Right, okie dokie. So how are we doing? We said configuration class, didn't we? Let's put that in the to-do. It's not really a requirement. Implement configuration class. Okay. Very good. That's not too bad, you know. I got through. That's all I get done tonight. I'd be happy with that. Starting passive state. Well, that's a must. And then we've got when here and where change active state. Well, that's a must. Ooh, I want to order these as well. After predefined term in active state, change to passive state. Yes, we don't want to stay in active state forever, so that's a must. Okay. And we'll make that use case about telling the time in Japan a could, not necessarily a should. Rightio. Okay. Feels like the next bit of work should be to pull this out into separate classes, because it's just going to get more spaghettified the more code I write in the main method of the console application. I think I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. I think that's a half decent start, you know, and I think maybe I might have whetted a few people's appetite if they want to come back and see how we get on with this, because I think it could be quite awesome once it's finished, or a bit further on. It's a bit rough around the edges now. It's not doing an awful lot, but what we're promising it to do is quite neat, and hopefully introduce a few people, if nothing else, to the system.speech namespace and let them build their own use cases. I'll just think of some more use cases, and these are sort of things that every day that I think of at work as well. It's like I use Team Foundation Server, or Azure DevOps is what it's called now, and I just want to say go to work item 19864 and it will just open up a browser and just go to that issue rather than me having to search for it every time. So yeah, that is a use case, but is it one for now? Do you know what? Let's go crazy and have a few use cases. Let's just do things like open Google, yeah, or you know, Google blah, where that blah's the keyword, and that's just going to open a browser and perform the search. That'd be useful. Yeah, I think it'd be quite useful. I could say Bing. I'm only joking. I couldn't say that with a straight face. No, we could do anything, couldn't we? Launching basically anything where you could launch a web window with some to a URL with some variables. We could do. Well, what else have we got like that? You know, open the news, read the news, open an RSS feed. I like the Google one because it's stuff that the other home automation ones can't do, if that makes sense. Open, yeah. Like I said, if anyone does think of some other use cases, do let me know. And I'm going to probably add some before the next stream as well. Probably won't add any more code because what would be the point? But some more use cases would be a good talking point. Right, okay, so I think I'm going to wrap it up there for today because I think we're in a good place, and it does mean because the next bit of work is stripping these out onto classes, and I don't want to jump into that tonight because I think it's going to take a while. So we've got our program class here, but yeah, that's not good enough. That code's good. I'm just going to keep tripping over it if I leave it like that. Okay, so a few things we're going to do in the next stream is separate classes, passive active states, the timeout, and the configuration class. I probably won't do that in that order. I will probably do it in the configuration class, separate classes, like maybe an engine class or something, and then the active states and the timeout. Then maybe after that, the first use case. Implement tell the time use case. At which point I'll actually have to show you the speech synthesis part of the code, which is really simple. It's like 3 lines of code and you can get your computer talking to you and saying whatever you want. Makes the kids laugh. So then, okay, requirements. Basic requirements. It's going to be respond in voice, respond with voice where applicable. Bit of a wishy-washy requirement there, but don't want it to be implied. Like I said, that is the speech synthesis size, speech. And we will just use the robot voice for that. We won't be hiring voice actors to do that just yet. The voice stuff's quite interesting because you've got a choice of. Well, that's the other reason that I want to build my own sort of virtual assistant, is that I don't like the fact, and I don't know why this doesn't bother more people, that we've got female voices for our virtual assistant. I think, and the fact we can't change it to be male, it just irks me that we're. You know, we have these virtual assistants, the Amazon one and the Google one, and Siri as well, and they're all sort of female voices. What are we saying there? That, you know, our virtual assistants that's basically subservient to us have to have a female persona. I just absolutely do not believe that statement at all. So I'm going to make mine definitely use a male voice, but also let the user choose between if it's male or female. And we've just come up with a new requirement. Allow voice to be male or female. Anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, so I think the system.speech namespace makes use of the language, the speech language packs that come with Windows, which is interesting because you can actually add more on. And you've got the English one, and we can even use different accents. So we can have British male and female, or we can have the American British female. But you can do more. You have to download these, I think, and install them. But you can have like ones with like an Australian accent. I think there's a big list somewhere, or Scandinavian, or sort of Far East Asia, a sort of. Accents as well. Usually, obviously, if you want with a bit of French accent, usually getting it to say French words, but you could have it a very sophisticated French sounding assistant if you wanted. So to do, I'm just going to put investigate different voices. I'm going to put voice packs because I think that's what they call them, voice packs. Yeah. I'll do. I'll put Windows voice packs. I think last time I looked at this, there was even a company where you could download and pay for, but download additional voice packs as well. Anyway, investigate different Windows voice packs. Allow voice to be male or female. That's a must. In fact, I'm going to insist that we make it male by default. Implement male voice by default. Yeah. I don't think society is going to progress one bit until we are writing software systems that are a bit fairer, with a bit less bias. Okay. Okay, I really think I'm wrapping up now before I think of any more use cases. So yes, I think I'm going to end there. So just to summarize what we've done. Whoa. Bear with me. Don't. Those aren't the droids I'm looking for. Okay. Yeah, so we started work on this Project Geneva, which is the generic voice assistant written in C# and .NET using a system.speech namespace. I'm going to push the latest changes up to GitHub. We're going to come back and we're going to extend it further and further each session. And we're going to dog food it, so we are going to use it as we are building it as well. To-do lists. Yes, that's another use case. No, must wrap up. So why not off the shelf? Off the shelf virtual assistants. I want more power, more control. I want to call it whatever I want. I want it to be able to run offline. I want a male voice as well as female voice, because I want to live in a society where both sexes are treated fairly. We're not assuming that females are in a subservient role, and we're not giving our voice assistants female voices, and not allowing to give them male voices. And I want long-running tasks and background tasks. I want it to be able to run offline. We've done the GitHub repository, we've cloned locally, we've done the README file, we've done some basic requirements and use cases, and we've done all that. Fantastic. Now, if we really are wrapping up now, if you want to see what else I'm up to, follow me on Twitch. I'm also on YouTube and Twitter, and you can see what else I'm up to there. I'm also on LinkedIn, and you can connect with me on there. But if you're a recruiter, please don't. I don't think recruiters have got desperate enough to be poaching people in Twitch just yet, but they will pay, trust me. And then my blog is at manchesterdeveloper.com. Okay, so yeah, thanks ever so much for, where are we at? Okay, completely lost track where I am. Right, yeah, thanks ever so much for joining me tonight. This is my only second ever Twitch stream, so I think it's gone okay. No major disasters other than like the probably minutes gap of no visual. But I hope you come back and see how we're progressing with this little application. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.